Have you ever wished to be someone unshakable? Someone who moves through life untouched by judgment, unbroken by betrayal, unmoved by rejection. You're not alone. There's a quiet ache inside so many of us, the longing to finally be free from the emotional roller coaster we never asked to ride. To finally stop pretending that everything is okay, when inside, you're slowly unraveling. Maybe you've spent your life trying to hold it together, to look strong, to act capable, to be the one who never breaks. But here's the truth. You're tired, not physically, but spiritually, mentally, emotionally. You're tired of carrying the weight of needing to be untouchable. And yet, despite all your effort, pain still gets in. Criticism still stings. Loss still haunts. Betrayal still burns. What if I told you that the reason it hurts so much isn't because of what others do to you, but because of what it touches within you? You see, we've been sold a lie, a deep, collective illusion, that if we just become strong enough, wise enough, good enough, then we can control how the world treats us. We try to manage every detail, our image, our performance, our reactions, as if emotional safety is something we can engineer. But pain finds us anyway. Carl Jung once said, "We are not what happens to us, but what we choose to become." And that's the key. That's the door you're standing in front of right now. You cannot control life. You cannot prevent pain, but you can become someone who is no longer defined by it. This first chapter is not about giving you armor. It's about making you see that the armor you've been wearing is what's been cutting into your skin all along. You've believed that shutting down protects you, that staying one step ahead keeps you safe, that appearing invulnerable is the same as being powerful. But it's not. True strength, the kind that cannot be shaken, does not come from avoidance. It comes from awareness. As long as you try to outrun pain, it will control you. As long as you try to numb, to deflect, to suppress, you remain a hostage to everything that happens outside you. The criticism, the silence, the abandonment, none of it would hold so much power if it didn't echo something already inside. This is not weakness. This is truth. And it's the beginning of something radical. Because here's an uncomfortable realization. You suffer so much because you still believe you can control how the world should treat you. You think if you're kind enough, smart enough, generous enough, that no one will ever hurt you again. But control is an illusion, and clinging to that illusion is what keeps you trapped in a cycle of tension, anxiety, and silent grief. If you want to stop suffering, you must stop trying to protect yourself from suffering. Let that land for a moment. What you need is not more control, it's more clarity. As long as you believe that other people must change, for you to feel peace, you will remain enslaved to what they do or don't do. Your freedom begins the moment you realize nothing that comes from outside can hurt you, unless it finds a place to land within you. This is the battlefield, not the world, not your relationships, not your past. The battlefield is within. And the enemy? Not your emotions, not your pain. It's your unawareness. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." This is your invitation, not to fight harder, not to become colder, not to pretend you're fine, but to finally look inward, to meet the shadows you've tried so hard to outrun, because there's a kind of freedom waiting for you, not in being untouchable, but in being fully seen by yourself. When you stop blaming the world and start listening to what your pain is trying to tell you, you stop reacting and start responding. You stop surviving and begin living. The path forward begins with this one truth. You were never meant to be in control. You were meant to be aware. In the next chapter, we'll descend into the realm Jung called the unconscious, the hidden engine behind your reactions, your suffering, and ultimately, your transformation. Get ready to go one layer deeper, because that's where healing begins. Let's be honest. You've been told your whole life that pain is the enemy. From childhood, you were taught, don't cry, toughen up, get over it, as if your feelings were flaws, as if suffering made you weak. And so, you began to run, to hide, to pretend. You learned to suppress what hurt, to push down the sadness, to cover the emptiness, to disguise fear with performance, with smiles, with strength, with silence. But what no one told you is this: ignored pain doesn't disappear. It just digs deeper. It tunnels its way into your being, until one day it breaks through. As anger, as anxiety, as numbness, as self-sabotage. Carl Jung didn't see pain as something to avoid. He saw it as a messenger. He said, "Depression is like a woman in black. If she turns up, don't shoo her away. Invite her in, offer her a seat. Treat her like a guest and listen to what she has to say." What is your pain trying to say? What have you not been listening to because you've been too afraid to feel it? See, pain doesn't just arrive to torment you. It arrives because something inside you is calling out to be acknowledged, to be heard, to be integrated. And when you ignore that voice, you become divided. You enter into war with yourself. The part of you that wants to grow fights the part that wants to stay safe. The part that wants to feel fights the part that's afraid to break. This inner conflict is the root of your exhaustion. It's not the world that's draining you. It's the constant internal tension between your truth and your protection. You don't want to be numb. You just don't want to hurt anymore. But here's the paradox. Avoiding pain prolongs suffering. Every time you silence your sadness, it finds another way to speak. Every time you suppress your grief, it becomes fatigue, or apathy, or the quiet feeling that nothing really matters. Jung understood this. He taught that the unconscious, everything you push away, is not just a storage room of broken memories. It's a living system of desires, fears, and truths that, when denied, begin to act on your behalf without your awareness. This is why you react so strongly to things that others can brush off, why a comment can feel like an attack, why silence feels like abandonment, why rejection destroys you. It's not the situation, it's what it touches. It's the wound beneath the surface that's still open, still bleeding. You think you're being hurt by what's outside, but you're really being hurt by what's still unhealed inside. And that is where the real work begins. Jung said, "We cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate. It oppresses." You've spent so long judging yourself, calling yourself dramatic, weak, overly sensitive, too emotional, too broken, too much. But you were never too much. You were just never heard. You buried your voice to be loved. You betrayed your own needs to be accepted. You became someone the world could applaud, while losing the parts of you that truly mattered. And now, the pain you carry is asking to be seen. Not fixed, not solved, seen. Because the unconscious doesn't need solutions. It needs presence. It needs truth. You want to be untouchable? Then stop running from what's touching you. Turn inward. Meet the pain, not with judgment, but with curiosity, with compassion, with the radical courage to ask, what are you trying to teach me? What part of me has been silenced for too long? What am I finally ready to feel? This isn't weakness. This is sovereignty. This is emotional adulthood. The moment you stop waiting for someone else to rescue you, and you become the one who listens to your soul. And in that moment, something sacred happens. You begin to reclaim what you once gave away. A period, your permission to feel, your right to be whole, your capacity to heal, not by being perfect, but by being present. The journey inward isn't easy. You'll be tempted to retreat, to go numb again, to hide, but don't. You've hidden long enough. You've been surviving for years. It's time to live. In the next chapter, we'll enter the terrain of your shadows, the unconscious patterns that run your life when you're not looking, the parts of you that you reject, but that secretly long to be integrated. If you're ready, we'll go deeper, because individuation begins when you stop pretending to be light and start embracing the dark as part of you. If this message resonates with you, hit the subscribe button and join the channel. Thank you for being here. You think you know yourself. You know what you like, what you fear, what drives you. But if you're honest, how often do you find yourself reacting in ways you can't explain? You say things you regret. You sabotage opportunities. You push people away when all you wanted was connection. You feel sudden anxiety, sadness out of nowhere, anger that erupts like a storm. And you wonder, where is this coming from? Carl Jung had an answer. He called it the unconscious, the part of you that holds everything you've forgotten, rejected, or denied. And here's the terrifying truth. Until you face it, it runs your life. Until you make the unconscious conscious, Jung said, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Let that settle in. Your bad luck, your toxic patterns, your emotional roller coasters, they're not fate. They're echoes, messages, unseen forces from within, trying to get your attention. The unconscious is not passive. It's not some dusty archive buried in your mind. It's active. It responds. It acts out. When you ignore a part of yourself, a memory, a desire, a fear, it doesn't go away. It becomes shadow. And that shadow begins to show up in your life as chaos, as projection, as people who trigger you, events that repeat, feelings that overwhelm you. You're not cursed. You're just unconscious. The unconscious is not the enemy. It's the part of you that has been screaming for years, through symptoms, through struggles, through breakdowns you labeled as weakness. But they weren't weakness. They were signals. You ask, why does this keep happening to me? But the better question is, what part of me am I refusing to see? Jung said that the shadow contains 90% pure gold, not because it's beautiful, but because it's true. Inside your unconscious are parts of you that once felt unsafe to express. Your sadness, your rage, your need for love, your intuition, your power, all the parts that didn't fit into your image of who you had to be. In order to survive, you didn't kill them, you buried them. And now, they whisper from the dark. The harsh truth is, you are not just the version of you that the world sees. You are also everything you've disowned. And unless you integrate those parts, you'll continue to be ruled by them. This is why life feels like a pattern, like a loop you can't break. Because your life isn't happening to you. It's being created from you, from every conscious choice and every unconscious wound. You don't keep attracting emotionally unavailable people by chance. You don't keep sabotaging success out of bad luck. You don't keep feeling unworthy because it's true. It's because your unconscious is running the show while you're still asleep. You want to be emotionally sovereign? Then wake up. This isn't about blaming yourself. It's about owning yourself. All of you. Because the more you know about your own unconscious, the less the world can manipulate you. Every trigger, every conflict, every moment that cracks you open is an invitation to turn inward, to ask, what part of me is speaking right now? Is it the wounded child, the forgotten artist, the repressed anger, the hidden grief? Because once you know, you're no longer a puppet. This is individuation, the journey of becoming whole, not by adding more, but by reclaiming what you abandoned long ago. Your shadow is not your enemy. It's your roadmap. And your unconscious. It's not a dark force to fear. It's the most honest part of you, finally asking to be seen. You don't keep attracting emotionally unavailable people by chance. You don't keep sabotaging success out of bad luck. You don't keep feeling unworthy because it's true. It's because your unconscious is running the show while you're still asleep. You want to be emotionally sovereign? Then wake up. This isn't about blaming yourself. It's about owning yourself, all of you. Because the more you know about your own unconscious, the less the world can manipulate you. Every trigger, every conflict, every moment that cracks you open is an invitation to turn inward, to ask, what part of me is speaking right now? Is it the wounded child, the forgotten artist, the repressed anger, the hidden grief? Because once you know, you're no longer a puppet. This is individuation, the journey of becoming whole, not by adding more, but by reclaiming what you abandoned long ago. Your shadow is not your enemy. It's your roadmap, and your unconscious. It's not a dark force to fear. It's the most honest part of you, finally asking to be seen. In the next chapter, we'll dive into what it really means to stop running from your darkness and begin to integrate it. Because integration is not perfection, it's peace. So now you know. You're not just what you show the world. You are also what you hide. The wounds, the doubts, the fears, the fire, the need. But knowing this isn't enough, because awareness without action becomes another mask. The question now is, are you willing to meet yourself completely? Not just the parts you like, not just the traits that win approval, but the whole of you, even the shame, even the rage, even the unspoken grief you carry like a second skin. Carl Jung called this process integration, not healing by erasing your wounds, but healing by embracing them, by reclaiming what you pushed into the dark and saying, you belong. It's easy to perform strength, to act like nothing affects you, to wear the mask of invincibility, but true strength is facing what you've disowned. You don't become untouchable by building higher walls. You become untouchable by embracing everything within you so that nothing outside you has anywhere left to land. Let that settle. This isn't about becoming cold. It's not about detachment. It's not about indifference. It's about honesty. Emotional sovereignty begins when you stop trying to be someone you're not and start becoming who you truly are. That means letting go of the image, the persona, the performance. You've worn so many masks for so long that you forgot what your face actually looks like. But beneath the roles you play, is someone real. Someone who cried once and was told to shut up, who felt scared and was told to be brave, who expressed anger and was punished for it, who dreamed and was told to be realistic. That version of you didn't die. They just got buried under what the world wanted you to be. And now, they're knocking, asking to come home. Jung called this process individuation, not the pursuit of perfection, but the integration of opposites. Your light and your shadow, your logic and your instinct, your vulnerability and your power. You don't become whole by adding more. You become whole by reclaiming what you lost. You've probably been told, you need to work on yourself. But integration is not work. It's reunion. It's not fixing what's broken. It's welcoming what's been left behind. You do this by becoming curious about your emotions, not judgmental, by asking, what am I really feeling right now? Where have I felt this before? What memory is being activated? What truth is trying to surface? You start witnessing instead of reacting, observing instead of defending, and slowly, gently, you begin to make space for parts of yourself that have waited a lifetime to be seen. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's raw. Yes, it's terrifying to open doors you've kept shut for years. But behind those doors is you. Integration means saying, this rage is part of me. This fear is part of me. This tenderness too. This hope, this grief, this longing, they all belong. Not so you can indulge your wounds, but so they no longer control you from the shadows. When you do this, you stop being reactive. You stop needing people to change, so you can feel okay. You stop needing approval, applause, validation, because you are no longer fractured. You are no longer in pieces. You are becoming whole. And that wholeness, that quiet integrity, is what makes you untouchable. Not because nothing hurts, but because you've integrated everything that used to hurt into the core of who you are. This is not theory, it's practice. It's everyday moments. When you choose not to lash out, but to pause. When you choose not to shut down, but to stay open. When you choose not to run, but to listen. And with each choice, you build inner alignment. You reclaim emotional authority. You stop being a puppet, and you begin to lead yourself. In the next chapter, we'll explore how this kind of self-leadership, rooted in radical honesty and self-acceptance, becomes the foundation for unshakable strength. Because becoming whole is just the beginning. Next comes transcendence. By now you've looked inward. You've seen the pain. You've touched the unconscious. You've begun the process of integration. And now comes the shift from healing to leading. Not leading others, not leading through force, but leading yourself. This is where most people stop. They become aware, but remain trapped in reaction. They understand their triggers, but still let them drive their behavior. They speak of shadow work, but continue living as victims of their own story. Awareness is not enough. Real transformation, emotional sovereignty, requires self-leadership. The ability to stand inside your emotion without being consumed by it, to hold your chaos without becoming chaotic, to feel fully without losing yourself. Carl Jung didn't just want us to understand the unconscious. He wanted us to integrate it, so we could take back authorship of our lives. Because once you know what lives in the dark, you no longer fear the dark. You become calm in moments of intensity. You become grounded in moments of rejection. You become steady in the face of emotional storms. Not because you're detached, but because you are anchored in something deeper. This is where emotional maturity is born, not in suppression, not in control, but in conscious response. Self-leadership means you stop negotiating with your pain. You stop outsourcing your worth. You stop living as a mirror to the world around you. Instead, you become your own reference point, your own compass. You ask, what is true for me? What do I need right now? What action reflects the person I am becoming, not the wounds I inherited? You move from reaction to response, from impulse to intention, and in that movement, you find power. Because reaction is slavery. Reaction is when your nervous system runs the show, when your past hijacks your present, when your trauma dictates your truth. But response is freedom. It's when you feel everything, but are mastered by nothing. That doesn't mean you won't get triggered. It doesn't mean you won't cry or rage or grieve, but it means you no longer confuse your triggers with your identity. You can say, yes, I'm hurt, but I'm still here. Yes, I'm afraid, but I'm still leading myself. Yes, this emotion is intense, but I am the one choosing how to meet it. This is what Jung meant when he spoke of individuation as the emergence of the self, not the ego, not the wounded inner child, not the fragmented persona, but the centered self, the one who holds all parts without becoming any one of them. When you live from the self, you stop performing, you speak clearly, you move cleanly, you make decisions from alignment, not desperation. You begin to walk through life, less as a character in a story, and more as the author of it. And let me be clear, this is not about perfection. This is not about always getting it right. It's about presence, about meeting yourself, honestly, consistently, with fierce compassion and quiet power. Because the true test of emotional sovereignty is not whether you can avoid chaos, but whether you can remain yourself within it, whether you can stay rooted when the old story tries to pull you back, whether you can breathe when the pain says, react, whether you can remember, I choose now, I lead now, I no longer obey the past. This is what it means to be untouchable, not immune to life, but no longer ruled by it. You respond to life from who you are, not from what hurt you. In the next chapter, we'll talk about the final shift, from inner leadership to deep peace, because it's not strength that shields you from the world, it's clarity. Now that you've walked through the fire, the pain, the shadow, the unconscious, the truth, you might ask, what protects me now? What keeps you steady? When people disappoint you, when life tests you, when old wounds whisper again. It's not armor, not defense, not toughness. It's clarity. You don't need to be harder. You need to be clearer. Clarity is the final shield, not because it blocks pain, but because it makes you transparent to it. Pain passes through you, but it doesn't stay. It doesn't find confusion to feed on. It doesn't find stories to hook into. It doesn't find the old patterns to reignite. Because clarity says, I see what this is, I understand what it touches, and I choose what it means. When you're unclear, you confuse someone's rejection. With your worth, you confuse discomfort. With danger, you confuse loneliness. With failure. But clarity separates signal from noise. It lets you feel fully, without spiraling. Clarity says, this hurts, but I know who I am. This emotion is old, and I see it clearly. This situation is not ideal, but I don't lose myself in it. This is the deep stillness you've been longing for, the kind that doesn't require anyone to behave a certain way, the kind that doesn't depend on your past being rewritten, the kind that doesn't crack every time life changes its rhythm. Because clarity is not fragile. It is forged through the fires of honesty. It is born when you stop making excuses for yourself and start telling the truth. Clarity means you no longer wait to be rescued, to be healed, to be understood. You understand yourself. And with that understanding comes peace, not because everything is perfect, but because you are no longer confused about what matters. Carl Jung never promised comfort. He promised wholeness. And this is what you've arrived at, a state of integration that allows you to see life as it is, not as you fear it to be, a state of inner stillness that can withstand any storm. You no longer panic when things fall apart. Because you no longer fall apart with them, you may bleed, but you do not break. You may weep, but you do not lose your path. You may stumble, but you do not forget who you are. This is what it means to be untouchable, not invincible, not indifferent, but deeply, fiercely clear. Clarity is not detachment. It's devotion to truth, to presence, to self-leadership. It's being able to say, "This moment is hard, but I am still here. I know who I am, and nothing outside me can take that away." This journey, this descent into your pain, your unconscious, your shadow, your wholeness, was never about fixing yourself. It was about finding yourself. And now you know. You were never broken. You were buried. And now you rise. Let the world do what it does. Let the waves come. Let the silence stretch. You are anchored. You are whole. You are sovereign. You are free. Not because nothing can hurt you, but because nothing owns you anymore. And that is what makes you untouchable. If this journey spoke to something deep in you, if you're ready to go further, to keep unfolding layer by layer into your truth, subscribe. This is not just a video. This is a movement for those who choose to wake up, to reclaim their power, and to lead from within. So stay with us, subscribe, and let's keep crossing this threshold together.